Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back, and I hope that you enjoyed the break and that you are refreshed and ready to go. My name is Danella Claxton, and I am from the Twin Island Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I currently serve as the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Library Services, Information Technology, Youth and Sports in the Nevis Island Administration, and I will be your moderator for this session. During the course of yesterday's sessions, we learned a lot about, or we were reminded of the importance of strengthening structures for our children. While as educators, our focus can easily be skewed to academics, we are also cognizant of the fact that our students are holistic beings, just like all of us are. Aristotle stated, and I quote, "Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all." As such, it is my pleasure to lead us through the session captioned Beyond Academics, Building a Culture of Social and Emotional Learning in Schools and Classrooms. The main objective of this session is to trace the trajectory of education change in the region. We'll suggest reasons why we have failed to effect its transformation and propose a way forward. This session will delve into innovative approaches for embedding social and emotional learning (SEL) into various aspects of school culture. It will provide strategies for integrating SEL into the classroom as well as the broader school ecosystem. Additionally, actions to foster more supportive and inclusive school environments to promote the social and emotional growth of the region's students will be proposed. This is an important component of the transforming education agenda, and it should not be overlooked or undervalued. So I encourage you to pay keen attention while evaluating where you are as a country and where we are as a region in relation to SEL. Growing up on Nevis, there was never a doubt in my mind that academic excellence was non-negotiable. My socialization to education then influenced my approach as a young teacher. Although I view myself as a naturally compassionate and empathetic person, I did not initially make the connection between the importance of social and emotional learning and student success. I have many stories that I can share about SEL. However, time would not allow, and I know that we are all thinking about the next step, right? So I will introduce you to an active practitioner and a trainer, our presenter for today. Dr. Hector Montenegro is the president and CEO of Montenegro Consulting Group, LLC. He currently works with districts and administrators nationally and internationally on systemic implementation of social emotional learning, instructional strategies for English learners, leadership development for administrators, language and literacy, instructional coaching, and parent engagement. Dr. Montenegro has been a math teacher, principal, chief of staff, and superintendent of 3 school districts in Texas. He is an internationally recognized speaker and presenter throughout the US and abroad, having presented in over 23 countries. He obtained his master's from Stanford University and a doctorate from the University of Texas, Austin. Let us welcome Dr. Hector Montenegro to make his presentation.
Thank you very much. Absolute pleasure to be here in the Cayman Islands to visit with you. It is an honor to hear some of the great presentations we've heard the last few days. I'm most impressed with the level of commitment, the resolve, the vision that you have to transform the educational system of your community. I've been inspired by the messages that I've heard so far. But first, I want to thank Eva Pemberton for the invitation to participate in this wonderful, amazing symposium. And I'd like to give a shout out to my friends from Chile, Mr. Javier Gonzalez and Raul Chacon from Cuba. I spoke with him last year. It really is a pleasure to do that. But I have a little challenge. Actually, it's an opportunity. I've learned a life, and my mother always taught me, when someone feeds you and gives you lemonade, then make lemonade. So I have a little opportunity here is to talk to you through your lunch break. And I want to call on my friend Wayne Wesley. Wayne, where are you? Wayne Wesley? There, right there, Wayne. I want you to get on your AI and see how I can do an effective presentation through a scheduled lunch break. But I want to tell you, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to meet so many of you from many different places, especially here in the Cayman Islands. I came here a couple of days early and went swimming with the stingray. I mean, I'm from Austin, Texas. We don't have stingrays in Texas. I played with the starfish. Does it give me good advice? Visual. Well, thank you so much, Wayne. That's going to be a challenge, but we'll make it happen. And so I want to tell you that meeting folks from here, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, from Grenada, Barbados, Belize, beautiful people. And I have been so inspired and also really appreciate the work and dedication. Now, the theme of this presentation or this summit is about liberation and about decolonization and transformation. So I'm going to take the liberty to liberate myself from this podium. And I'm going to decolonize my presentation, my PowerPoint, and transform my presentation to be more interactive, engaging. Do I have your permission? Yes. Because AI has told me I have to make it engaging. So I thank you for that. So all of these presentations really were focusing on the transformation process. I've been most inspired by the many comments, and I wish I had the time to go through some great observations that were made. But I was thinking about Gandhi. He said that be the change that you wish to see in the world. And I submit to you, we need to be the transformation that we want to see in our schools, in our community, in our nation. It is all about the level of transformation that we take. So I'm going to take the liberty, and in the spirit of social and emotional learning, I know you all are very social and emotional, so we need to have a little bit more interaction and engagement. So I'm going to invite you all to stand. Please stand. Great. I saw in your session you had them all standing up and down, so I know it's great. So in the spirit of social and emotional learning, I want to invite you to become that community, a beloved community that's going to move together in a direction that you have that vision to do, but it takes practice, it takes a lot of work. So I want to invite you, at least 3, 4, 5 people around you. I want you to turn to them and give them a warm welcome, and I will allow you, in the spirit of social and emotional learning, if you want to give them a hug, give yourself a hug. So let's greet the people who are all around you.
Welcome each other. Welcome. Oh, welcome.
this short time we have together, there's so much to talk about, so much to share. But what I think the point here is that we value human persons that we are. We value our community, even though we're not from the same community. We're from a common humanity, a common vision and desire to move our systems forward. So it is transformative for every child that comes into our schools, every child that's born into our community, every child that we prepare for a brighter future. Because we work hard for our children to have a brighter future, and we want to prepare them to have a brighter future for their children. So yesterday was not only transformative here in this session, but afterwards took a field trip to John Gray High School. I was deeply moved by what I saw. But it wasn't about what I just saw, but also about what I experienced. I had a marvelous tour guide, a young lady that just embodied the very spirit and consciousness that we talk about here in this summit. And I want to thank John Clark back here, the principal, the transformation. They took a vision, an idea, the struggles that it takes to build not only a magnificent facility that's very child-centered, but they created an instructional program that gives children options to pursue goals, pursue careers, to experiment in relationships. The kind of challenge our children had during the pandemic. They didn't have the opportunity to experiment and develop relationships and to explore ideas with their hands-on experience. So when I walked into that school, came in all a group of students welcoming them. Wow, I knew right then and there, this school is a child-centered school. The children were the ones that talked. And there was an amazing experience that happened after the initial orientation. The principal came in and says, I can go on and on, but I'm going to turn you over to the children. And so I thought in my brain, I used to be a math teacher, so everything I think about, they're in boxes and compartmentalizing formulas, and so where is the order? Which child am I going to be paired up with? And he says, just walk around and they'll find you. Walk around? What do you mean? So a young lady, Warren, walked up to them and said, hi. What a beautiful welcoming. Something has happened in that school to allow children, to give children permission to stand forward and say, I am a part of this community, I'm proud of it, I love it, and here I am to represent what we love. And in my journeys around the world, in school districts and school systems, I can tell the level that the adults care for the children by the way that they care for their visitors. I have been in schools where the adults, I walk in as a visitor, and they walk by, they look at me, and they look down. They keep walking, they turn away. And I have been in schools like we did yesterday at John Gray. Children come up to you and say, welcome to our school. And we have learned that if you love the children, they love what they do, and they'll give you love back. Developing and designing a program that you've all talked about and financing it, supporting it, having that vision to implement it effectively is transformative because structure does change behavior leaps. And if you have a good structure, like the management of the facility, that's kind of like the hardware. But the love and caring and attitude is like the software. You can have a state-of-the-art facility and have a toxic work environment. And I've walked into rural communities in Central America and around the world that all they have are thatched huts and dirt floors. I was in Uganda and they just had old boards, wooden board painted black and chalk. And as soon as I walked in, the children came up and gave me a hug. I said, there was love in the air, and we need facilities, and we need that environment. So I'm going to wander around over here because I want to be close to my presentation.
When I say beyond academics, it's not an exclusion to academics. That is the point of departure. You have to have standards. You have to have a curriculum. You have to have guides. You have to have resources and facilities for our teachers to do a good job. And principals, administrators, I've been a principal, I've been a superintendent. You don't just walk into these positions and know exactly what to do. It's an evolutionary process. So we are going to build a culture, that's the software, of social and emotional learning in schools and classrooms. So I'm going to touch base on a very personal part of this presentation. That is my personal story. And we can't forget where we came from. Because when we remember our roots, it really sets the foundation to where we want to go and the decisions that we made. So this is my mother and my father. This is about 8 years ago. We were in a Chinese restaurant, and in this picture, my dad is 99 years old. Yeah. And my mother is 92. And we're at this Chinese restaurant, and so we're opening up our fortune cookie. And my mother opened up her fortune cookie, and she goes, yeah! I go, Mom, what is it? And she said, she read the fortune cookie, and she said, you will soon come across a great fortune. She got all excited. She says, I hope it hurry up and comes before I get to home. And then I looked at mine, and it was so telling. I looked at it, and it said, if you smile at the world will smile back. And my mother told me, Nico, when you were born, you came out with a smile. And she said, when the doctor slapped you, you laughed. So my father got his fortune cookie, and he looked at it the way he's very kind of really shy, and he looked at it. I go, what is it, Dad? He gave it to me, and I kind of laughed like he did. It said, any day above ground is a good day. So this morning, I'm thinking about you. I woke up happy and grateful to have another day, another opportunity just to live life to its fullest, interact with some beautiful people. So my parents are from Mexico, and they came at a time when they were very young, and there was a lot of discrimination, racism, prejudice, hate. And to this day, I still can't understand the reason. They came here for a better life in the United States. They wanted to have a good foundation for the children they brought into the world, so they brought in 5 boys. Can you imagine my mother? My dad worked 2, 3 jobs. My mother raised us. My mother ruled. You know, she's actually right now still alive. She's 410, I think. And she had 5 boys. And there was one secret formula. In Spanish, call it chancla. And it wasn't the pain it inflicted, it was the threat and the perception that mine inflicted. So my dad, he played golf until he was 99 years old. He lived to be 101. So I think I got some good genes in me. And now, I went to visit my mother before. And my mother, last November, celebrated her 100th birthday. So this November, she will be 101. In fact, she couldn't hear very well, but we bought her some hearing aids that are Bluetooth compatible. And they're hooked up. I got her a cell phone. I tell you, there's no limits. She goes down her directory, her contacts, and start on. In fact, yesterday I'm here in Cayman Islands. She calls me. She goes, well, where are you today? I'm out here in the Cayman Islands. There's no there. No, I'm not. So this is a wonderful opportunity. And what we did, we're going to talk a little bit about a structure intention is to offer you a thought or two that complements the wonderful program. To build on strength is asset-based function, focus. Your assets, your strengths, things you already have and you're bringing to the table. Maybe I share with you an idea or two and say, oh, I'd like to try that. Maybe that might help out what I'm doing, or maybe children might respond differently. But what we did was a welcoming ritual. That's what we did. Just welcome each other with open arms, in spite of all challenges and difficulties. You know, when we go into an environment, we can tell by space whether or not they're present, whether or not they're struggling, whether or not they're even happy, whether or not they even love themselves. Children need environments where adults really exemplify that sense of well-being, that sense of confidence, and the resolve, resilience to overcome our most difficult challenges. And we can do it because we've done it. Heard about it yesterday again. I'm going to compliment John Clark for the great transformation work. Very nice. Did a welcoming ritual. The welcoming children means that we build a transformative culture of social and emotional classroom. We embrace wherever we are and the moment in which we are there, and we look at not only the sponsors, thank you for the wonderful person support you got for, but also within our hands together. We cannot do it separately. Silos are not very effective. But within our embrace, bring focus on children. This is what we've heard. It's child-centered education. But we can't do it separately. We can't do it in isolation. Where schools know how to collaborate and work together in professional learning communities, they embrace the children a lot better. Share practice, share ideas. In schools where there's division, toxic environment, where teachers and adults yell at children and believe that some are smarter than others, children fall through the cracks. So as we look at the objectives, and it's going to be short and to the point, because I know I'm is to explore one or two instructional strategies that transform classrooms to enrich relationships, safe, engaging, inclusive environment. Relationships, I heard that said many times yesterday. It is all within the relationship. And relationships, that's foundational for us to look at accelerating learning. Not just more of the same. Accelerating learning because now we know how to facilitate children to learn together in collaborative culture. So yes, academic, social, and emotional learning is foundational to children accelerating in their academic environment. So in all subject areas, collaborative, and we'll take a look at a couple of examples. What does it look like and what does it feel like? It's nice to see it up here on the board in the PowerPoint, but what does it actually feel like? And I hear teachers say all the time, I agree with you, but there's a huge gap between knowledge and implementation. That means that there's an absence of tools. So some of the thoughts I will share have to do with looking at the kind of tools that's make it effective. So looking at the way children are seated and interacting of a social and emotional classroom, see not children in rows, quiet, children interacting, engaging, talking to one another. Now, we do need to transform. I will be the first to say me. I need to transform from the old school of thinking. When I grew up, it was command and control, my way or the highway. And if you look wrong, if you look cross-sided, you're out of here. I grew up in a small town in California. You may have heard of it, Los Angeles. And they used paddles at the time. And I still hurt. I got paddled every day. But it was because I was always testing the limits of what was fine for me. Because I didn't participate in that decision. Why should I buy into something I did not participate in? So as we look at empowering educators to create heart-centered classroom tools, there are a few tools that I want to share. We'll go through this very quickly. But first of all, the 4Cs of the 21st century skills, this is like 25 years ago. At the turn of the century, we were talking about these skills: communication, collaboration, creativity, information, critical thinking, problem solving. If I go into many classrooms today, I see, like I heard mentioned yesterday, 18th century education occurring in the 21st century. It just can't happen. Children are not communicating. They're not collaborating. They're being controlled and managed. So when we look at 21st century skills, we want to look at the industry that we want children to transition to. That means that there is a target. There is a belief system that every child that walks through that door, we say, "Oh, Johnny, so good to see you. I have a plan for your future. And all the teachers you're going to have all the way up to the time you graduate have a plan for your future." Not what I see sometimes. It's like, "Oh, Johnny, you came back? I thought your family moved." What can we do to transform our educational system? By beginning with us. So as we look at the industrial age organizational design, and I submit to you, we are fixated and stuck in that paradigm. But we are living in an information age and organizational design. That means these children today have cell phones. They have access to the world that we didn't have. My mother, when I was a child, had a landline telephone. You had to do time sharing. Sometimes with a party line. But I call somebody the telephone. I need. Today, children just get that thing out of their pocket and they see the world. There's a different way of thinking. Just hear it. You want to get all children computers? Yeah, sort of. Because when children are now being fed to this electronic babysitter, still losing out on social and relational. I was working with a group of 8th grade students. We were going to do pair sharing activity. They said that. I asked you, "Do you do any interaction in the classroom?" "No." Well, of course, they don't even know how to interact, especially with the pandemic. Lost a lot of critical time. So the industrial age compared to information age, look at the bureaucratic design. We mandate and you comply. You will be held accountable. That is a very toxic, autocratic decision-making process that many of us grew up with. In other words, that's the norm. And so if that is your paradigm in the industrial age, looking at centralized control, you have to have standards and one-way communication, my way or the highway, compliance, forced conformity, you better or else. Looking at the information age, team-based design. That means that by facilitating the collaborative culture, everybody gets to buy in. And we were talking about AI and the infusion of technology. Look, I went through the 90s, 80s, and 90s when they used to have computer labs, and nobody used them. Should have learned back then. Now you can buy a whole school of cows. You know what cows are? Not moves. Cows. Computers on wheels. Go along the room. In many cases, they don't use them because it has not been a shared decision on really level of education. Shared decision-making, autonomy, and I'm not talking about just else. I'm talking these are the 21st skills that we want to call our class. So when we look at what's happening with Gen Z, we have 12 to 27-year-olds. Are there any Gen Zs? If you're raise your hand if you're between 12 and 24. Raise your hand high. Be proud. That's right. We got 3, 4, 5, 6 of you. Bless your hearts. Gen Z, months after hiring, 6 and 12 employers are already sagging, getting rid of some of the Gen Z workers. They are fresh out of college and out of high school here. Because these companies say some or all of their recent graduates, Gen Zs, are satisfactory in some way. That doesn't mean all, but I exclude the ones that are here because you have vision, you are leaders. But look what they say about their generation. Difficult to work with, can't handle the workload, lack of motivation, unprofessional, have poor communication skills. And I don't blame the Gen Zs, I blame our educational system that has kept them in control, in roles, had compliance mentality, not an effective culture. Really embraced them. All these things can be addressed in the classroom. And especially our cultural children, they need that additional support to manage their mental health. I've never seen so many people have high levels of anxiety, fear, as well as lack of social skills. I'm not saying that you all have. I'm saying from my experience. So when we take a look at some of the challenges that Gen Z have, we need to move forward. So let's take a look at the framework. SEL, social emotional learning. First of all, welcoming ritual. When they come into the front door, wow! Just like those children at John Gray High School, we walked in and they were like, wow! I was going to post a bunch of pictures without taking an hour. But they were welcoming us. Welcoming ritual. You welcome children to school, your children will welcome visitors. Involuntary, or I should say, not a mandate. And when you look at the things that we do in our classroom, welcoming each other, and I can teachers say, oh, I welcome all my children. Well, that's fine for you. But you need to have children take turns welcoming their peers in the classroom. Peer-to-peer welcoming. It is a powerful tool when children know how to welcome each other and when they know how to interact. The second is engaging activities, like we did with our welcoming ritual. Engaging, get up out of your seat and interact. And also optimistic closure. You never just leave and walk away. You thank each other, engage in some sort of interaction. One activity I really like, my name, my identity. Know my name is to know me. Anytime I do professional development, I'll come out to Barbados, I'll come out to Jamaica, I'll come out to all your islands. The practice with adults is essential. Adults not just hear and talk about it, but practice. Talking about your name, family, such a powerful tool and resource. So real quick, what is SEL? Social and Emotional Learning. I work with the Collaborative for Academic and Social and Emotional Learning, and there are 5 core competencies. The ones in the red, they're about social and emotional. They're about intrapersonal. That's you, which you're well. And then there's green, which is interpersonal skills. They go together to help us make decisions. When we look at the process, ongoing, it is about taking a look at 5 core competencies. Red are those, oh, by the way, I'm going to give you the QR code when you get the whole presentation. But if you want to take a picture of me, I can send it. So the 5 core competencies, the understand and manage your emotions, so forth. That's something we're going to focus on right now. Set and achieve personal and collective goals. Don't show empathy toward others, as well as establish and maintain those supportive relationships, as well as with adults. And that helps you make responsible decisions. Have you ever had a child that does something out of impulse, does something stupid? You look at the child and you say, why did you do that? What did they say? I don't know. I don't know. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take a look at the fact that that's self-awareness. A lot of times children do not know how to identify those emotions. So they don't have tools. As a result of that, also, and not understanding the emotions, they don't have the ability to regulate them. Direct, constructive, positive relations. So when we look at a mood meter, Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, there's 4 quadrants. And I love this mood. I was down in Chile in South America and other places. Their teachers use the mood meter, part of their welcoming ritual. Take a look at vocabulary and share with a partner, how do you feel at this moment? The first quadrant is red. That's low, pleasant doesn't this. I'm low energy. I'm calm. And, pretty, And the yellow's high pleasantness and high energy. So here's the vocabulary. The vocabulary of self-awareness, attention, and how to regulate themselves, set and achieve personal goals, and have positive, lasting. Okay? So take a look at the vocabulary. Take a look at it. I want you to look at it very carefully. Find a couple of words that may resonate. Right now, I'm going to ask you, what's your mood color now? You in the red, the blue, green, or the yellow. Now, there is no correct answer except what it means to you. It's relevant. If you're in the red, that's fine. That's how you feel right now. If you're in the blue, I don't even know. Green, yellow. So let's try with show of hands. How many of you are in the red? Anybody here in the red? I think they left early, right? Anybody here in the blue? Anybody here in the green? The green. Oh, we got a lot of greens. Man, you're just chilling, man. Anybody here in the yellow? You're the kind to get on the chairs and we'll dance just for the hell of it. That is so true.
Timekeeper is red.
Give me 5. Okay, AI, check up. We're going to jump, Tevin, to number 22. And I want to share with you student voice. I love hearing the students, because we're talking about having cross-generation conversation, hey, adults or children. But when I work with all over the world, I get some common responses. I ask one teacher, do this. It's a responsibility also of the leadership. They want to do activity, helps develop those SEL skills, attention, by design. How do you show empathy? How do you show kindness? How do you establish relationships? They're positive, also. Also, help us make friends. There are a lot of students say, I want to make friends, but I don't know how. And they also say, adults don't help me. And some say adults don't even want to help. So really, we're looking at some really critical areas. I love it. I just went online and got tired. Really happy. Be more encouraging, reward good behavior. Absolutely. Look at this community of children. You can see by their smiles, there's some positive. Be aware of how teachers talk to students. Also, do not get angry at students. Finally, get to know us and form positive relationships from us. That's what I heard at John Gray High School. The guy that I have, I said, describe, how do you feel? She basically said, teachers care about it. They take time out for us. They respond to us when they see we're having difficulty. And I said, deep down inside, how do you feel about being there? Your child is there, like from the mouth of faith. Honest, ask her. So when we look at areas we want most for our children, the 5 most frequent responses you ask what you want most right. Number 1, you want to belong. They really do. They want all the technology, they want all the fun stuff. Bottom line, they want to feel it. That's an adult role and responsibility to shape those designs so that we understood. To live with structure, not coercion, not forced discipline, but with structure so we know how to follow the guidelines. Also, to live comfortably. And finally, to be loved. Be loved. Comes directly. Students, let me see, what do you think? closes. How you feel? Absolutely. Absolutely. So when we look at transforming education, both mindset, a fixed mindset, I've always done it. Children, some just can't learn, others do. I don't learn from my mistakes. I just want to. The growth mindset, this can happen. And there's one difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. It is one word. Does anybody know that word? Yes. What is that word? Fixed. What is it?
Yes.
Yet. They're not there yet. They are not there yet. Because it's my responsibility to do it. And so when we look at, you approach life with a growth mindset, you understand the abilities can be developed. Every child that walks through that door, every child has the capacity to be a governor, to be a teacher, to be a principal, to be an entrepreneur. Every child. I know when I crawled through the door and I was getting started, I was told, you will not be successful. When I asked my counselor in high school, please write me a letter of recommendation because somebody said I should go to college, I said, no, because you will not make it. When I walked across the stage with my doctorate's degree, I was thinking, where is that counselor today? Right. So, let's move forward with recommendations. Transforming education recommendations for action. Build, strengthen, promote, and practice. Now, these are based on the collaborative for academic and social and emotional learning, the 4 focus areas. They're research-based. They cover all fields, but they're essential to kind of transformation. You can't just go in there with a good attitude. That's what you call random acts of excellence. Oh, we're going to transform and I'm going to do this, and everybody's going to look at you. What's wrong with that child? You know, that's wrong. Definitely. But when we look at the steps, build foundational support and a plan. That is a collaborative function. You have to go with the team. There's a saying, if you want to go fast, then you can go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's the first area, focus area. Build that collaborative culture and that collaborative reach a consensus. So every time, I'm telling you, even began doing No Child Left Behind, 14 years later, several billions of dollars investment, all half of the children were left behind. So the legislation came on from on high. It was not effective. Build that team. Second, strengthen adult SEL competence and capacity. Not coming from the adults, it's just not going to happen. Not going to happen. And thirdly, promote SEL for students. That's the third level. Just don't throw a program out there in the classroom. This doesn't work. It never had. And then next year you have a new program. And the teachers complain, it's initiative fatigue. Just throwing everything at us and we're not, being very effective. Finally, practice continues. Go back and take a look. What are we doing bad? What are we doing good? What can we do to improve? So finally, I'd like to train. Bottom line, right here, without coaching, right here, coaching and without coaching, all the great performance, great programs, this has the greatest effect on transforming education, going from the SEL classrooms, schools, families. I do a lot of training parents about SEL in the home. So if your child is an SEL lesson and they go home and tell their parents were really excited about it, parents go, what are you doing in school? They're terrible. Because your parents do want to help. So let's go, and here are some guidelines that details. Let's do an optimistic closing. Are you ready for an optimistic closing? Are you ready for an optimistic closing? Be optimistic. Okay. You all are brilliant. You're gifted. You have a lot to offer. words. Ready, go.
Yellow, blue, orange, black, red, green, purple, yellow, red, orange, green, black, blue, red, purple, green, blue, orange.
Boy, this is a community moving in the right direction. You are growing together. When the world is black and white, that's no problem. We can just rattle it off. Now we have some accountability measures, some tests that you need to make sure the children pass. So I'm going to ask you to double the speed. See if you can leap over that hurdle. When I give you the cue, twice as fast. Ready, go.
Yellow, blue, orange, black, red, green, purple, yellow, red, orange, green, black, blue, red, purple, green, blue, orange.
Oh my God! There's not a challenge that you cannot overcome. Because you have learned to do it together. You've learned the language. Oh, we're going to change the rules. But I know you're resilient. I know you're determined. I know that you're very collaborative. So, I want you to say a color. And I know you can do it as good as you just did. Are you ready? Yes. You don't read the word, you say it. Now, ready, go. All right. So I'm going to ask you twice as fast. Ready, go. My heart is with you. Transformation is hard. It's hard work. But you do it because you know how to do it. Oh, like, how we get that's it. So I'm going to take the role of the caterpillar, and you're going to do the role of the butterfly. Wow, you've changed.
We're supposed to.
Wow, you've changed.
We're supposed to.
Of course, it's not who we are. Remember that we need to make thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Montenegro. We just have a few minutes, so we'll take one or two questions or comments. I know that you have a lot. It was quite an interesting and inspiring presentation. But if we could move quickly to the mic, located right there in the center aisle, and ask any questions or provide any comments.
Okay, well, I was sort of going to give you some statements. So in real time, I was communicating to a Gen Z. Let me just tell you some of his characteristics. He's about 22 years old, excellent with cloud computing, etc., etc. And apparently he got offended with one of the slides. The one about bosses firing Gen Z. Bosses firing Gen Z grads. Yeah. And his response to it is, Gen Zs owe employers no loyalty. They won't hesitate to fire us. These days, spending 20, 30 years at a company are gone. And then he says, he accuses me, he says, because I said to him, well, Gen Zs live in their parents' homes until 40. And he responds, because your generation is hogging all the wealth. Rent is high, food is high. You see where this is going. So my question to you is, in spite of all the social emotional learning, do you leave room for the economic reality that is facing our young people, the prospects? Inflation is up, there's war in Israel, etc. And how, as an education system, do we adjust the mindsets of our young people?
That's right. It's hard enough. I love change. Absolutely. They are our future. You know why? Because their way of thinking is the way the industry is. There needs to be a transformation in education to accommodate the level of understanding and exposure Gen Z has to the global context. And so basically what happens in many of these coming out, I'm just quoting an article. I don't have time to go through the whole thing. The fact is they come into an industry that's very fixated on certain guidelines, certain rules, and certain profit-making margins that Gen Z just doesn't think that way. That's not a bad thing. It's just that Gen Z, like everybody else, needs tools to not only acclimate, but also to transform. And we can do that in the schools, and I saw that at John Gray. No, I apologize if I offended, but I'm just quoting an article.
Thank
you. Again, it's a very limited perspective. Gen Zs are not bad. They have a different way of thinking.
Thank you very much. Don't forget to identify yourself before you ask a question.
Right, Eduardo Ali, Caribbean Examinations Council. I want to say to you, thank you for a very heartfelt presentation. I think you touched our hearts by the way you presented, but also the content of your presentation. Let me start there. There's one four-letter word that comes to mind when I listen to your presentation, not just in terms of your own familial experience, but also your reflections on what happens within learning and schools, and that is the word love. And I think we all felt that today when we were embracing each other. What I want to say is, one of the things that I have been looking at recently in the literature, and I've been also following some businesses in Florida that have started to explore love as a key performance indicator and the value that brings in terms of the workforce. I wonder whether that can be resonated within the education system and how we can look at love in whatever form you define it. People may look at it as care, affection, whatever it might be. How could we embrace that as a key performance indicator in our education systems, or should we? Because I believe that social and emotional learning, as you expressed, buttresses on the value of love in the home, in the family, in the community, which is extended to schools. So I wanted to ask that question, whether you think there's value there. Thank you.
Well, to a certain degree, emotions can be quantified, can be kind. Yeah, but there's different kinds of kindness. You greet the children that come in your classroom. Yes, there are different ways that you can't really quantify. For example, you wear your emotions on your face. So, okay, I'm required to greet the children. Hi, come in. Hi. Or you can embrace them with your facial expressions and emotions. That's why we need to not only transform the way we think about all of the characteristics that we want to see in children by manifesting them through our own behaviors, but also realize that you can't mandate love. That never works. You cannot mandate passion and empathy. But you can help children understand what does it look like. Here are some behaviors. And so, yes, industry needs to get away from just a profit-based, divisive way of separating societies and children and communities into that inclusive, that transformative way that we treat employees, especially where you take, you can say you care about us, but I don't have anything to teach with. That's not care. You can't mandate that. Thank you for your observation.
All right, thank you. Final question.
Thank you. Dr. Montenegro, wonderful session. I really enjoyed it. And I have two comments to make. One, was in relation to what you were saying about John Gray. As we entered, we got involved in talking with a group of students who were part of the chess club. And there was an adult there with them who I thought was their teacher. It turned out she was a parent. And that is one of the secrets of their success. You cannot get through to children without embracing their parents. And that is one of the things that we very often forget. We often say we love the children, but we hate their parents. It can't work. The other thing is that in our transformation in Barbados, we recognize the critical importance of social and emotional learning. And we have started that social and emotional learning for our students. But one of the things that we did not recognize in the beginning is that teachers need to go through social and emotional learning too. And therefore, we have started that because they can't give the children unless they get it as well.
Absolutely. There is a saying by Seneca. He says that a great leader is not about being in charge. A great leader is about taking care of those in your charge. So it needs to come from the top, but it also needs to come from the grassroots. These are learned and acquired skills that